Hey, what's up you guys? I'm Sarah, and today we are going to be talking about my author goals for 2023. If you go on to enjoy the video, I'd really appreciate it if you could hit that like and subscribe button. And now without further ado, let's get into talking about my goals for the new year. I have made a couple videos before with the title, All the Books I Want to Write, where I've talked about all of the books that I want to write. And this year, I want to make some of that happen. My first and primary goal for writing for 2023 is to finish book one of my high fantasy project, DE. And DE is the abbreviation of the original title, which no longer applies to the book, and I will announce at some point when I actually have a legitimate title for this book. When I say that I want to finish book one of DE, what that means is that I am currently working on draft 6 of this project. It has been many, many years in the works. I think I'm sitting at like 6.5 years right now. I came up with the idea back in 2017, maybe it was 2016. It was July something of either 2016 or 2017. So I've been working on this project for a while. Draft 1 took me like 4 years because I was writing it over the span of the time that I was in college. And so obviously I had other bigger priorities that I needed to focus on when I was working on draft 1. And then I moved into draft 2, draft 3, I sent the book out to beta readers. Draft 4, I got about halfway through draft 5 last fall before I realized that I just needed to take a step back from the project because I was leaving my job to work for myself. And then instead of going back to draft 5, I decided to completely start a new draft because my approach was going to be completely different than it was in draft 5. So that means that we are currently on draft 6 of DE. I think that draft 6 or draft 7 hopefully will be the last drafts. And I made a video several months ago where I basically was like, okay, when I left my job back at the end of August, I kind of set myself up for 6 months to make the working for myself thing really happen, and it's working so far. But part of that and part of making these 6 months really feel like it was very, very impactful and very worthwhile was the goal of finishing a book and getting that book ready to query. I do think that Project DE is well suited for a traditional publishing path. That is the path that I want to try and go down first. With this project, it's something that I've thought about for a long time. It's something that I will continue to look into as I'm getting closer and closer to the day that I can query this project to hopefully then get a literary agent and then a publisher and then publish the book. I know that trad publishing has fans and not as big fans. I do think I want to be a hybrid author where I traditionally publish some books and I self-publish others. However, I think that DE is really well suited for a traditional publishing route. So that is the path that I'm trying to go down with DE. So that means that during the months of January and February, I would ideally like to finish draft 6 and potentially draft 7 of Project DE to then make sure that my book is as polished as I can get it, as good as I can get it before I start to query. Based on other authors here on YouTube that have queried publicly, I'm not sure if I want to share that process online or not, because apparently it can be very, very daunting to fail publicly. And when I say fail publicly, what that means is not get an agent right away, because sometimes it can take a really, really long time. So I don't know if I will actually be sharing that online or not. So you guys will be some of the select few that will know that as soon as I stop talking about DE and I start talking about something else, might mean that I've started to query, which is a cool concept. When I say query publicly, I probably wouldn't keep you guys super up to date on how things are going while it's happening, but I would probably continue to vlog that process so that when eventually I sold the book, I would make a vlog out of it or several vlogs out of it and then put them out. I've just heard that it can be a really tough mental time not hearing back from agents. And so a lot of people have recommended that when you're querying, you only tell like 1 or 2 people that you're actually querying so that you're not constantly getting questions of, oh, how's it going? Like, have you heard back from anybody? Have you gotten any requests, etc. I have been working on this project for so long, and the idea that the end is within sight, like I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, is so exciting to me. And I know that that goal is for January and February, but that is my primary goal for 2023. If it flows over into March, I'm okay with that, but I do really, really, really want this to be the year that I start querying and potentially get a literary agent, potentially start the publication process. I think that would be so, so cool. So after that goal is theoretically taken care of, after I start querying DE, the next thing on my checklist would be to start a new book. This has been heavily recommended by a lot of writers and a lot of interviews that I've listened to, especially like Neil Gaiman and Brandon Sanderson. that's basically as soon as you submit something, start something new. It will help take your mind off of it. It will help with if you're going down the traditional publishing route. As soon as you do get picked up by a publisher, the publisher might ask what's next, and you need to have another project to be like, yes, here's what I've been working on. And while I have written rough drafts for 4 other books other than DE, as soon as I start querying, I want to start working on another book. Whether that means starting something new or going back to one of those 4 other projects that I've been working on and finalize one of those. I do currently have a couple of those projects that sound really, really interesting to me, including the sci-fi that I was working on for one of the NaNoWriMos or Camp Nano, and I can't remember which one, but it's my project CBH, which is also an abbreviation of the original title, but I've already said the original thought for it on YouTube, which was Cyborg Bounty Hunter. I would love to go back to working on that project. This isn't necessarily a goal, this is just potentially one of the things that I might go back to working on as soon as I start querying. The more I say that word, the more it starts to freak me out. Even though I'm really excited about the querying process being really soon, I'm also kind of freaked out about the querying process being really soon. So as much as I would like to start working on CBH again, I would also like to finish rewriting LRF, which is a dystopian that I wrote in high school. It was the first full book that I wrote, and I think that that book also is really, really fun, has a ton of potential, and I would love to go back to rewriting that. I was working on rewriting that book this past NaNoWriMo. I didn't get very far into it because, again, I was adjusting from leaving my previous job to now working for myself, and I was trying to make everything work. And so now that I feel more settled into what I'm doing, I feel like I have a lot more energy for creativity and writing. So I would love to revisit rewriting LRF. I would also love to start book 2 of Project DE. I think that DE is going to be a trilogy, primarily because the overall timeline spans about 18 months. The first book takes 6 months. I think the second book is going to take 6 months. I think the third book is going to take about 6 months. Theoretically, we'll see what happens. When I started writing DE, I thought it was going to be a 400 to 500 page book, and then it turned into a trilogy. Because as I was writing, I realized that I was over 200,000 words in the rough draft, and I realized that I had just hit the end of book 1. So it's now a trilogy, and I would love to start on book 2, because in book 2, the characters get to experience more of the worlds. There's more world building, there's more traveling, there's just more experiences that happen in the book, and I would love to spend more time with those characters. For the 5 books that I have written so far, 2 of them are the first books in their respective series, and the other 3 are standalone novels. So up until this point, I have not gotten to write a sequel, and I would love for 2023 to be the year that I get to write the sequel. Over the span of this year, I would love to work on 3 different books. That includes finishing up draft 6 of DE, aka finishing book 1 of DE, and then 2 other projects. That would be fantastic. Another goal that I have is to really put emphasis in the amount of time that I'm investing in my writing and really try to prioritize it and make it a really strong part of my routine again, because with all of the traveling that I've been doing over the past couple months, I have been in a rut just because I can't get myself back into a routine because I've been traveling like every other week. For the month of January, I am in Utah. I am not traveling. I put myself on a self-inflicted travel ban, which I'm so excited about, which means that I can finally work on figuring out my routine again and prioritizing writing. In order to do this, I'm also really excited about some of the YouTube videos that I'm going to get to make, because I'm going to be trying some more writers' routines. I'm going to be trying some more artist routines in an attempt to try and figure out what works for other people and what of those routines might work in my personal routine to make my routine the most effective that it can be for me. I did spend some time working on a vision board, and while I'm not going to show it in this video, I noticed that pretty much everything on that vision board was experience-based. And so I do really want to prioritize my experiences that I get to have here in Utah, my experiences that I get to have within driving distance of my apartment, the hiking, the camping, the backpacking, and just the fun outdoorsy nature experiences that I really haven't gotten to have before living in Utah. I have a goal with some of my friends to go camping once a month during the summer, just to help unplug and get away from screens and give myself little nature breaks. But they're also not little, because my hiking adventures are littler, but like weekend-long unplugged experiences where I can be out in nature. And I'm so excited about having goals like that. Because hiking is so important to me, I'm really excited to be also prioritizing working out and skiing during this this winter so that I am in the best possible hiking shape that I can be this year for when hiking season comes back around. For the past couple years, I have chosen a word mantra for my year. And the last 2 years were the same word. Actually, it was opportunity. And while I still love that word, I am choosing the word freedom for this year because I feel like that's the best word to embody working for myself, writing, trying to become a full-time author, among other things. But right now I'm also a content creator. I'm doing a little bit of freelancing. I did decide to reopen up my Fiverr orders and just being more selective and doing a reduced amount of so that I don't burn out again because I burned out back in November. So those are my goals for 2023. Feel free to drop some of your goals for this year down in the comments below. I would love to read them. I hope your new year is going well so far. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.